everybody. We are live from Dell Technologies World with Haiku, a longstanding Dell partner with a ton of news. Simon, how are you?
Evan, I'm doing great. It's thrilling to see you here again in this great show.
It is a great show, and it's a very newsworthy day in particular. So let's jump right in. First, maybe introduce yourself and the mission at Haiku for the folks watching, listening.
Sure. I'm Simon Taylor, the CEO and founder of Haiku. Haiku is the world's fastest growing data protection as a service company. We've got about 4,600 customers in 78 countries worldwide. And we are proud to be a Dell ETCs, formerly Select, both sponsor and community member, meaning that we are sold on the Dell price list in every country across the world.
That's amazing. And you've long supported Dell. But what's new and noteworthy about today's news in particular? That you have a lot going on right there in the booth 600.
Well, as you can see behind me, Evan, we've got what we call the Tower of Power here from Haiku, this sort of giant purple obelisk looking structure behind me. And what we're talking about today is that we now offer 86 on-prem public cloud and SaaS integrations across the Haiku pipeline and platform. But not only that, today what we're introducing is that all 86 of those integrations are now fully supported by Data Domain and Data Domain Virtual Edition, or DDVE. So really simply, for any Dell customer out there in the world today who loves all of the deduplication power of Data Domain, today you can stop thinking about DD just for VMware. You can use it for Nutanix, you can use it for SaaS, you can use it for cloud across 86 of the world's most powerful integrations. I love to talk about Google Cloud, Azure, and of course AWS, and the fact that now you can actually deduplicate that data at source and at rest. You can move that over to your target easily, quickly, and more efficiently than ever before. I think this is really exciting because I think that Dell customers are loyal, they're excited, and who doesn't love a good data domain? But the modern data estate has fundamentally changed in the last 10 years. You know it, I know it. We're not keeping all of our data on-prem anymore. And we look at this as almost like a giant net that goes up into the sky and captures all that SaaS and cloud data and brings it right down so it can be harnessed into the power of Data Domain and Power Protect. So we're really excited about this. I think, when we came to the product team at Dell and said we were going to do this, they sort of said, this is going to take years. Here we are 12 months later, and we've got 86 of the world's most important SaaS, cloud, and on-prem applications and databases fully supported by Data Domain.
That's fantastic. Well, let's talk about impact as always. What are Dell customers and partners telling you about some of the gains they're seeing, will see on the show floor? What are they excited about? What are they taking away?
I mean, it's pretty shocking, actually. I had a customer come in, and I thought it was tongue-in-cheek. They said, we're getting 60-to-1 dedupe ratios, just using Haiku for Nutanix. So this is a very simple example, but you've got a customer here that loves Nutanix, loves backing up and recovering their data using Haiku, and now they get all that joy and experience of using Data Domain and DD Boost even as a part of that process. We had another customer yesterday come up and say, oh my gosh, Office 365, we've got 100,000 Office 365 users across the world. And when I think about the petabytes of data that are being backed up, the fact that I can now use Data Domain Virtual Edition to reduce that footprint is so incredibly important. So I think this is a story of efficiency. It's a story of consolidation. It's a story of saying, I no longer need 10 different backup vendors when one will do. And I think that's the true power of Haiku. It's featuring all 86 of those different on-prem, public cloud, and SaaS workloads all under a single pane of glass, all through one platform.
Phenomenal. And in the news, you mentioned complete data control a couple of times. What does that really mean for the enterprise, especially in the many regulated industries in which you sell and security-sensitive verticals?
Evan, it's a great question. It's interesting. We get that question a lot. What do you mean by full data control? We really mean that, right? I think what's happened in the industry over the last 10 years, more and more data protection vendors have tried to become storage companies. So they start to sell storage. They stop caring about what matters to the customer, which is single pane of glass, reducing your footprint, cost efficiencies. What we say is we give the customer the choice. We give the choice back to the customer. Everything that we offer is true SaaS. You can use the cloud as a target. You can use on-prem as a target. You can most certainly use your Dell infrastructure as a target, but it's your choice. You're free to choose. And I think that's ultimately one of the most beautiful things about Haiku. It's that freedom. It's giving the control back to the customer, and it's the efficiency that then comes from using data domain in order to make sure that you're getting the absolute bang for the buck when it comes to being able to deduplicate your data as well.
Fantastic. Let's talk about recovery. You're offering not just granular, but offline recovery as well. Why is that so important? How does it sort of change the data protection discussion?
I think this is one of the most interesting things. A lot of times when I think about retention and I think about what's happening in terms of the marketplace around compliance, more and more customers are saying, I always knew I needed another copy. Right, I always knew that I had to protect my data on-prem. But what about SaaS and cloud? And I think what's happening with the regulatory industries around the world, Evan, is they're really starting to look at this more closely. And they're sort of saying, hey, where is your separate copy? How are you actually achieving resiliency across the entire modern data estate? And so I think one of the things that we introduced just last week was what we call R-Shield, which is the ability to provide true threat detection and support across on-prem, public cloud, and SaaS. And we kind of put that down into 4 different categories. We said, look, resiliency does not stop on-prem. All the time what we hear is, oh, we've got all this cyber resiliency. And when we looked closely at it, we said, no, you're protecting and you're resilient for VMware. What are you doing with your SaaS data? What are you doing with your cloud data? What are you doing with your Nutanix data? And this is where we sort of took a much more holistic approach. And we said threat detection on-prem. We actually then said we're going to provide what we call R-Lock, where we provide true immutable copies for your SaaS and cloud data. You might think, Simon, come on, we all have immutable copies. You would be amazed, Evan. People in the world today aren't locking up their SaaS and cloud data. They use soft lock, they use things that are adjustable. But when the regulators come a-calling, they have no way to prove that these are actual immutable copies. Haiku's done it. For the first time ever, we can now provide true immutability, true lock, a hard lock when it comes to SaaS and cloud. So I think that the R-Shield component is the resiliency story of the future. I think it's a story that truly supports the modern data estate. And I think it's phenomenal for Dell customers, which is why we're so excited to show it here at the show today.
That is amazing. You mentioned a single pane of glass, and one of the big selling points now is the ability to manage all of this from one platform. And, integration, simplicity of user experience, SKUs, the whole 9 yards. How are you seeing the simplification working out for the IT teams in the field who are pretty busy and overwhelmed?
I'll tell you, I think that the simplification message resonates today more than ever before. I think that consolidation is the word on everybody's lips. There's so much uncertainty in the market today. People do not want to go out and buy another platform for another workload. And I think, as I've said, to you, Evan, for years, the reality is that the average mid-market company, we're not talking enterprise, the average mid-market company keeps their data in no less than 330 different data silos.
Wow.
330. Imagine if you had a backup product for each one of those. It'd be like, instead of having iCloud backup, every single app on your iPhone has a separate backup and recovery tool. It's nonsensical. So I think the fact that we're finally bringing together on-prem, public cloud, and SaaS in a highly complex, highly diffused modern data estate, and at a time when there's a lot of economic uncertainty in the marketplace, all of that comes together into one word, which is we want to consolidate. We want to consolidate on Haiku because it's simple, it's comprehensive, and it does give you that total coverage.
That's fantastic. So what's in store for the rest of Dell Technologies Week? What are you excited about? And with a couple more days to go, what's on your radar?
I want to give a big thank you to Travis Feehill, David Noy, all of our friends in the Dell product team. They've been absolutely phenomenal to us, and we've spent a lot of time with that group, really getting to understand what's been happening in the Dell product world and how we fit into it. And I think, again, consolidation, cyber resiliency, AI, these are the cornerstones of the Dell message right now, and it's exactly what Haiku brings to bear when it comes to data protection. So for me, it's going to be about spending a lot of time with customers, making sure we get the message out there, and it's about screaming data domain, power protect at the top of our lungs, and getting all of those workloads properly supported by the world's best dedupe. And that's, of course, from Dell.
Mic drop moment. Fantastic. So you have so many great resources out there on the website at Haiku, but what are you looking forward to the next few weeks? You do roadshows and webinars and workshops, lots of learning opportunities. Look forward to catching up, getting your feedback after the event, post-event. We'll do a post-event review, but thanks, Simon, for joining.
Evan, absolutely thrilled. And again, I apologize. It's a little bit loud in here, but it's been terrific chatting with you. Great always to see you again. And thanks for the interest in Haiku. We're really thrilled about what we launched today, and it's a pleasure to talk to you about it.
Well, you came in crystal clear, so thanks for joining from a busy show floor at Dell Technologies World. Go Team Purple. Congratulations,
Thank you, Evan.
Simon.
Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.